Hi guys, so I'm going to be showing you how to make a super simple large basket or planter today. And the yarn that we're going to be using is the Lion brand yarn called Wow. And I have it all in a pile over here on the floor. And we're going to go ahead and just get started. So the first thing you want to do is pull a tail, a long tail from your skeins or your pile of yarn. So we have 2 strands at one time. The first thing you want to do is pull a tail from all of your skeins. The next thing you're going to do is make a slip knot. Now to make a slip knot, you're just going to drape the yarn over your hand, pinch all the strands together, turn your hand away from you, and grab the working yarn, which is the yarn that's attached to all the skeins, and pull that loop right up. And then you have your slip knot, which counts as your first stitch. Go ahead and place that right on your wrist, and we're gonna have to move it up because this yarn is quite big, so it's gonna be pretty bunched up on your wrist. Try to keep the stitches as close to your wrist as possible, that way they're smaller and the basket will look better. So we're gonna begin casting on, and we're gonna cast on 12 more stitches since this was our first stitch here. So to cast on your stitches, we're gonna do the long tail cast on. Put all of the strands underneath your ring finger and your pinky. Take your index finger and your thumb and divide all 4 strands, but make sure you keep the 2 strands together that are acting as 1 strand each, if that makes sense. And then you're going to turn your hand so that the palm of your hand is facing you. We're going to take our index finger on our right hand. We're going to go under these 2, over these 2 strands, and pick up these 2 in the back. So you're going to go under, over, and pick up the strands in the back, pulling them up, creating your new stitch. And then you're just going to place that right on your arm. Okay, we're going to do that again. So place all the strands under your ring finger and your pinky. Separate all the strands with your index finger and your thumb. Turn the palm of your hand towards you, and then take your index finger on your right hand, go under these 2, over these 2, and pick up these 2 in the back. So under, over, pick up the strands in the back, pull up your new loop here, and then you're going to place it on your arm. I'm going to do that until I have a total of 13 stitches on my arm. And 13. So now we're going to begin arm knitting our rows, and just so you know, the 13 stitches that you cast on just now, that makes it's going to make the height of your basket. So if you want a shorter basket or a taller basket, cast on less or more stitches. Hold the working yarn in your right hand, pull that first stitch over and off while holding the working yarn. Take this new stitch and place it on your left arm. Tighten up, okay, and then you're going to knit your second stitch. So you're going to hold the working yarn in your right hand again, take that next stitch. Remember, you're using 2 strands at one time per stitch, and you're going to pull that over and off while holding the working yarn. Take that new stitch and place it on your left arm. Do that again. And I'm going to continue knitting my first row, and I'll show you how to knit your second row. So this time, you're going to hold the working yarn in your left hand, take the first stitch, pull it over and off while holding on to the working yarn in your left hand, pull up this new stitch and place it onto your right arm. Tighten up, take the next stitch while holding the working yarn in your left hand, pull that next stitch over and off, creating a new stitch, and place it onto your right arm. And again, hold the working yarn in your left hand, take that new stitch over and off, while holding on to the working yarn, place that new stitch on your right arm. All right, so I'm going to continue knitting row 2. And you're just going to repeat rows 1 and 2 until it's time to bind off. I'm gonna finish arm knitting my basket, and then I will come back and show you how to end your basket. Okay, so I finished knitting 11 rows, and now we're going to bind off. So you want to knit 2 stitches over to your right arm, 1 and 2, and you can bind off a little bit loose. Take that first stitch and pull it over the second one and off of your hand and drop it. And then you're going to knit 1, pull that second one over that, or the first one over the second one and off of your hand and drop it, and knit 1, bind 1 off, knit 1, bind 1 off, and continue doing that until you have 1 stitch left on your arm. All right, now we have 1 stitch left on our arm, and you're going to go ahead and pull whatever yarn you have left all the way through that last loop there, tighten it up. And now I'm going to show you how to assemble your basket. Okay, so the first thing that I want you to do is your bind off edge and your cast on edge are going to be the sides. So I want you to grab both of those ends and just pull on them and stretch your basket widthwise. Okay. And then what you're going to do is fold it inside out so that the cast on and bind off edges meet up. And now I'm going to move this up here so I can show you. I'm going to take those 2 strands from the beginning, our cast on edge, and I'm going to cinch up the bottom here. So I'm just going to weave it through 1 strand. Just kind of push as you're going. So just weave it through these stitches here on the bottom, all the way around, and then just push them as you're going. And this doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be sitting on the floor or, you know, on the bottom of the basket. No one's ever going to see it. I'm going to go through this last one here. I'm going to pull it halfway through on this last one. Make sure it's cinched up real good. And then pull it halfway through, grab the yarn, and pull it all the way through, tighten it up. Okay, and now we're going to sew these 2 ends together. So this is the bind off edge of my blanket, and this is the cast on edge. On the bind off edge, you can see the stitches over here clearly. Each one of these V shapes is a stitch, and I'm just gonna go through the right side of the stitch to make it a little less bulky. And then on this side over here, I'm just gonna go through these little loops here on the edge. So I'm just gonna use 1 strand to make it a little less bulky. We're gonna go through here, and here. I go through here. And this doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to see it. Alright, so we're at the top here, and I'm just going to go ahead. There's this little loop here. I'm going to stick it through there. Okay, and then I'm going to find the top stitch over here, which is this one, and I'm going to bring it halfway through. Okay, like this. I'm going to bring it through halfway again, and then all the way through, and just tighten it up without ripping the yarn. Okay, so this is the top of our basket. This is the bottom. I know it looks a little funny right now, but what we're gonna do now is fold the top over. So we're just gonna start rolling this down while pushing the rest of the basket up. So just keep rolling. You can even stick your hand in there. It helps. Pull this down. Until the top meets the bottom and you like how it looks. So you might have to just kind of form it a little bit while you're rolling it. And then once you have it so that it is all folded over, you can go ahead and shape it up so that it looks good. And then I'm just gonna end up tucking all of these extra tails in here. You don't even have to weave them in. Okay, so just keep forming it. And there you have it. So I use mine for just an artificial plant that I have, but you can, and it has like a small base that I can stick right in there. But you can use this for so many different things. You can use it for storing, toilet paper. You can use it for storing anything on, a tabletop, or maybe even some yarn, maybe giant knitting needles. But I use mine as a planter. So you use it for whatever you like. I hope you guys like this tutorial, and I'll be back with some more videos soon.